Good. So our today's topic is linked list. So today I'll give you an introduction to a linked list, and we'll be talking about simply linked list. So before getting into that, we have been discussing about the array data structure for the past 3-4 weeks, and we have seen how array data structures are used and how array can be used for implementing other data structures like stack queues and many other variants of queues, etc. So as we have seen, arrays are used to store multiple data items of the same type under a single name, and these elements of the array can be accessed randomly using their index value. Means that if you declare an array as a, and if you declare it as 10 elements, you can access the first element as a of 0, second element as a of 1 up to a of 9. And we also know that in the case of array, allocation of memory is in contiguous locations. So there is no chance for taking extra storage space for memory. These are the advantages of arrays actually, and this also avoids memory overflow or shortage of memory in arrays. So as you all know, along with an operating system, you have some entity called a memory manager. So whenever somebody would like to run a program or an application, then it will be submitted onto the processor, and the system will ask or system will take the help of the memory manager to store this onto the memory. Sorry, to store this onto the memory, and what are the variables or what are the data items this particular application is going to use. So that sort of memory allocation, everything will be managed by the memory manager. So as we have seen, if in your application, if an array is declared, then the memory manager will be asked to uh, find storage for the array of, for example, 10 integers. So what it will happen is the memory manager will look into the memory for 10 contiguous locations. Let's say our architecture is going to take 4 bytes for storing one integer. Then it will try to find out some 40 bytes of free continuous memory locations, and the first byte address will be returned to the CPU, saying that, yeah, this is your address of the array. Then you can access these elements by using that address. That is, you just access it as star a, then you will get the first element, star a plus 1, you will get the second element, and so on. So a will be pointing to the first memory byte, a plus 1 will be to the second integer byte, and so on. So that's how arrays are declared. And the disadvantages of using arrays is that the number of elements to be stored should be known in advance. So this calculation, how much memory is required to be allocated, etc., should be done at the compile time. So the number of elements that need to be stored, for example, in the previous case, we have told that we need to declare an array of 10 integers. So that value, how many integers, the number of elements that need to be known, should be known in advance. Then another disadvantage is that insertion and deletion of elements from the list or from the array is expensive. Insertion of an element into the middle of the array is really expensive, and we have seen the time complexity associated with the insertion and deletion of an element from an array. You can see that on an average case, both these operations are going to take order of n time. Memory resizing is not possible as array is a static data structure. You cannot change the allocated memory in the runtime. The memory allocation is done at the compile time, and it requires contiguous memory locations because we are storing only the first byte allocated memory's first byte address. We are not using any address in between. So if you would like to access each element one by one, then the elements need to be stored in contiguous memory locations. So that's another disadvantage. Even though it is an advantage in the case, even if say that advantage, we can say that it's another disadvantage where if we require to store a very large array of very large array, then if you are not able to find that much amount of continuous memory locations to store that, then it will be a difficult situation. So at this particular situation, we can say it is always good to find out another method where these disadvantages can be overcome, so that you can define a new data structure, namely linked list. Linked list is actually a dynamic data structure where the amount of memory required can be changed during the runtime. So there is no requirement that you need to know the number of elements that need to be stored prior to the execution of the program. So at runtime, you can change the size of the memory, that is amount of memory that is required. And another advantage is that the insertion and deletion operation can be done fastly. So insertion and deletion, we will see insertion and deletion operation in the case of linked list shortly. So the insertion and deletion operation can be done compared to an array. Insertion and deletion will be fast. Every element in a linked list is called a node, and a node contains different members to represent the data. So it can be an integer linked list, it can be a floating point linked list, or it can be a linked list that consists of a structure also. So a linked list can be of any type, and a linked list contains elements known as nodes, and these nodes may contain different partitions. Each of these partitions can represent a data item. For example, if it is an integer linked list, then the node will be containing only one member, one data member, which is for storing an integer value. Then as I've told, the linked list is a dynamic data structure, so our data will be stored in the dynamic memory or the free pool of memory. So at runtime, you can create, allocate, and deallocate the memory. So in addition to the data member, there is another pointer in a node, which is actually a pointer to the node itself, or which can point to another, node. So that's how this linked list structure is established. So a node is basically having two entities. One represents the data item and another represents a pointer. The data may contain more than one members also, like there can be more partitions to the data, but anyway we combinedly say that it is one data item, and in addition to that there is a pointer which can point to another node. So which can point to another node means it's a self-referential structure actually. So those who have not looked into the self-referential structure video, you please watch that video also. So it's a self-referential structure. A node means a self-referential structure. It contains a data item as well as a pointer which can point to the same node. So as I've noted in a linked list, the adjacency between elements is maintained by means of this pointer. So we'll keep the first node, then the first node will be pointing to the second node. second node will be pointing to the third node, and so on. So that's how we maintain the adjacency between elements. And these pointers or the link between sorry, the pointer between these nodes are called links, and that's where the name linked list. So this is how I can represent it. A node in a linked list can be represented as there will be data members and a pointer which can point to another node. So this may contain more than one partition also. For example, if your node has two data members, one contains an integer, another contains a character string, something like a student data structure where student roll number is the first entry and student name is the second entry. So you can store it like this: first roll number one, student name, then a pointer. Then you can have another node here like this. So this is corresponds to the first student. So roll number one, student one, roll number two, student two, and so on. A linked list is called link because each node is a series of pointers. So you will have an initial pointer which point to the first node, which may be the name to your linked list. For example, linked list one or head one or list one, something like that. So this can be used as a name to your linked list, maybe the student list. So student list dot one, that will be your first entry, dot two, that will be your second entry, and so on. So a linked list is a series of pointers like this. So there will be an initial pointer which is your name, which points to the first node. Then first node will be pointing to the second node, and second node has a pointer which is pointing to the third node, and the last node will be pointing to a null pointer, or which is pointing to an address equal to 0. So corresponding to this, in memory it is like this. This is stored in some memory location. This is stored in some other memory location. This is stored in some other memory location. So we can say that this is not in continuous memory location, and at this place the address of this node is stored. So for example, this node correspond to an address 100, and this node correspond to an address 50, and this node corresponds to an address 300. Then in the list head or this pointer, 100 will be stored. Here the address of this node, that is 50, will be stored. Here the address of the third node, that is 300, will be stored. Here the address what is stored is 0, which refers to a non-existing or invalid address, or which is also known as the null pointer. The null pointer is nothing but a pointer pointing to address 0. So address 0 is an invalid address. We'll say invalid address. So this is how the structure of a linked list will look like. You will be having a head pointer, which is actually a pointer to a node itself, but you may use it as the name of the linked list, which is a pointer where you can store the address of the first node. Then in each of the nodes you will be storing the address of the next node, and so on. And in the last node you will be storing an address which is equal to 0, which refers to or which says that that is your last node, or there is nothing after that. So as we have seen, a linked list is a series of connected nodes. Each node contains some piece of data. Let's say in this case we have a character and a pointer, so a piece of data. And in the next half we have a pointer which points to the next node. You will have something known as a head pointer, which is the name of the linked list. The last node points to the 0 address or an invalid address. In programming language scenario, we will say that it's a null pointer. So coming to the type, sorry, any question? No. Coming to the type of linked list, we have three different implementations of linked list. So in coming classes, we'll be looking at each of these. First, we'll be looking at singly linked list. That is what we have just seen. And then doubly linked list. Then we'll be looking at circular linked list. Singly linked lists are the data structure, that is what just we have seen. The list will go only in one direction, that is the links. By traversing through the links, you can go in one direction only. So the first node, then second node, then third node, that is the direction you will go, or from left to right. Each node contains only one link. So you can think of another data structure where you can have more than one links, which may be pointing to uh, more than one nodes in the more than one nodes in the linked list. So that maybe you are singly, sorry, doubly linked list, or any other data structure you can create it your own. Those who have some idea, you can create it your own. So each node contains only one link in the case of singly linked list, and that link is pointing to the next node. And from our point of view, we'll say that it is from left to right. So as we have seen the header or the name of the linked list, it is pointing to the first node. The link list of the link field of the last node, it points to the null value. That is also called a one-way list. Let's see a sample representation of linked list in memory. First, we will see an inefficient representation by using an array. Then we will go for the actual dynamic representation using free pool storage or heap memory. In case of static representation of linked list, we are going to maintain two arrays. Static representation means we are going to use arrays for representing a linked list. Of course, there is a limitation that you should declare it as some maximum size before actually implementing, or there is nothing dynamic here. You are already allocated the arrays, sorry, the size of the array, and you are already allocated with some amount of memory, but you are just trying to simulate a data structure array as a linked list. That's it. So in that case, you will use two arrays or a two-dimensional array, in which the first array is used for representing or for storing the data, and the second for storing the links. For example, in this case, a singly linked list with these 6 nodes, n1, n2, n3, n4, n5, and n6, and n1 having a value 59, n2 is having a value 38, and so on. Let's say these are the addresses in the memory, and then 59 is the data for the first node, which is at some memory location 44. So 41 to 41, 41, 42, etc., that is the memory we have allocated for this array, and this is the corresponding memory allocated. So 49, sorry, 44 corresponding to that, there is one memory location in the link field also. This contains the address of the next node. That is, the next node is 41, where it contains 38. So in this case, the data is 38, but we don't know the address, but the address is, let's say, 38. So it is something like a link from this node to the, it contains another link 50. So in 50 we have a value 64, this 64, and this contains value 43. So this contains So this is how we represent a linked list statically using arrays. So it's very inefficient way of representing a linked list using array. We are using two arrays, one for storing the data item and the other for storing the link field or the address. So let's say in your linked list you have more than one data member, then you will have to use multiple arrays corresponding to this. Or you can use a two-dimensional or two-dimensional data structure, so that in the first dimension you can use the data member, and in the second dimension you can use the mm, uh, position for storing the link or address. Yeah, dynamic representation of linked list. As we have seen, the static representation is not that efficient, and not only that, we are not using the dynamic uh, memory or the heap memory in that case, where the memory is allocated statically, and we will be using only the stack portion of the memory. Here, in dynamic representation of linked list, we will be allocating memory dynamically, so that we will be utilizing the memory in the heap. So, along with the operating system, it has something known as a program known as memory manager, and another program known as a garbage collector. Then it will be keeping a list of free memory spaces, a collection of free memory spaces. We call it memory bank. So a memory manager, whenever uh, memory is required, the operating system will contact memory manager. Operating system will search in the memory bank, and if the corresponding size of memory is available, then it will be granted with the, or it will be returning the first byte in that address of the first byte in that particular memory location. A garbage collector does just the opposite thing, that is, uh, it will be restoring the memory. Means that if you deallocate some memory, it will be adding that memory to something known as the available portion. So usually the memory manager will keep a list of free memory spaces as a memory bank. It may be kept as a list, or it may be kept as a any other, using any other data structure. Usually it is kept as a heap. So whenever a node is required, a request will come to the memory manager. So in dynamic representation or dynamically allocating dynamic allocation of linked list means we will be allocating memory for each node separately. So whenever a new node comes, that node will be allocated with memory. Whenever that node is removed from the list, that node will be deallocated from the memory, and that's how it proceeds. So a new node is required means, then a request will come to the memory manager. Then it will search in the memory bank for the corresponding location. For example, if you're working with an integer linked list, then we need to store an integer value plus a pointer value. Let's say an integer is going to take 4 bytes of memory, and my pointer is also going to take 4 bytes of memory. Then 8 bytes of memory, that location will be identified by the memory manager, and the address of the first byte in that first of that 8 bytes will be given back to the system. So this is how the dynamic representation works. Let's say this is my linked list. This is the header. Then you have first node, second, third, etc. So in between, we would like to insert a new node. Then what it will happen is, it will create, or it will try to create a new uh, node. New node in the sense, it is kept as an available list. Let's say memory manager kept this as an available list. Then the request will come to the memory manager. Memory manager will search through this list, and let's say it identified this particular portion. Once it identifies this, it will create a new pointer to this. Then the corresponding address will be returned. Then what you can do is, you can insert this in between by rejoining the pointer like this. You create a pointer to this, and you create a pointer back to this. So it is something like the list is from here it comes, and once it reaches here it goes back to this and comes back to the last node. That's all. So it's not like an array. It's this node is in some memory location, this node is in some other memory location, this node is in some other memory location. So in between, if you would like to add something, it's very easy that you create a node and you just change this pointer. So there is no need to shift all these elements as in the case of an array. So that's why insertion, that's why we told that insertion and deletion in the case of linked list is pretty easy compared to an array. And this is how we return a node once you delete or once you remove a node from your linked list. For example, in between, we would like to remove this node from here from your linked list. Uh, we will see the insertion and deletion operations shortly in detail with algorithms. But to get the concept, we will see this diagram. So let's say we would like to delete this node. Then what it will happen is it will just need to change this pointer. Previously this pointer was pointing to the node xy. Now we don't want this. What we need to do is you need to change this pointer back pointing to this. That's it. You just remove this pointer and you point to here. Then it is like header, first node, second node, then this is the pointer, it comes here, then last node. Once you do that, you add this xy to the available list, so that next time if somebody asks for allocation, then xy can also be utilized. Otherwise this will be kept as unutilized. So these are the operations on a singly linked list. You can create a node or create a linked list itself, traversing a linked list, inserting a node onto the linked list, deleting a node from the linked list, copying a list to make a duplicate list, merging two lists, searching for an element in the list. We will see these operations one by one. Let's say we are working with an integer. We are working on an integer linked list. So this is the structure of a node in your linked list. You have to create a node, so a structure. In that, this is the data member, an integer data member. Then you should have a pointer to the next node. So if you represent it as a picture, it will look like this. You have a structure. In that you can store an integer, which is your data, and you have another called a link, which can point to the next node, which is of type struct node star, means that it's a self-referential structure. It can point to a pointer of type this structure itself. So you create a structure, then you create another structure. You can link your first structure's pointer to the second structure by just assigning its address. So this link is of type struct node star. What that means is that you can store the address of this type of a variable in your pointer. So this is how you create struct node star new node. Then new node is allocated with memory. How much memory need to be allocated? Size of struct node, size of this integer plus size of this pointer. That is the size of node. And malloc usually returns void pointer, so you need to typecast it as struct node star. Then only you can use that for storing this address. So new node is of type struct node star. Then you allocate this much of memory, and you typecast it to struct node star. So this is how you create a new node. That's it. So if a new node at any particular point of time in your program, you need to create a new node. For inserting a node onto memory, you need to create it. So for you are going to create a new node by using this command: struct new node, then allocate memory. Once this is done, you have this in your memory. Then you can use this part for storing your data and this part for storing your address by using command like this: new node pointer data and new node pointer link. You have this pointer new node, which is of type struct node star, and you can use this pointer, utilize this pointer for accessing data member and the link member. So this is how we traverse a singly linked list. Traversing a singly linked list means visiting every node in the list, starting from the first node till the last node. That is what traversing is. So just go through the linked list once. Maybe for searching for a particular entry in your linked list, you will have to traverse through the entire linked list. There is no special things which we have stored, or special we have not stored our linked list in a special sorted order or any type of order. So in order to search for an element, we'll have to, it will take order of n time, as we know. And what I was telling is that's another way of talking about traversal. Traversal is something very similar to search. So it is visiting every node. For example, if you would like to print the data at every node in your linked list, then we will have to, we will say that it's a traversal. What we do is we initialize a pointer PTR, then we print the data at the location where PTR points, then increment PTR. Incrementation means you just traverse, or you just uh, follow that link from the first node to the second node. Initially, this was your structure. You had a linked list with 3 nodes. First node was having a data 10, second node was having a data 20, third node was having a data 30. And we had some pointer known as head pointer. Initialize we pointer PTR as head. We don't want to change this pointer head because this is your this is your name to the list. If you are changing this pointer, then the entire structure will be altered. Means that if you just move your pointer head pointer here, you cannot come back to the first node again. So usually we keep this head pointer as it is, and we create a new pointer. So before that, you have to, you should have a command like struct node star PTR. Then PTR is equal to head. So PTR now contains PTR also now it also points to the first node, while PTR not equal to null means that PTR has some value. PTR is actually now pointing to head, which is having some address. PTR is not pointing to the address 0. So print PTR pointer data. What do you mean by PTR pointer data? PTR is pointing to this node now. PTR pointer data is 10. Then you increment PTR means you follow the link to reach the next what you call next node. PTR equal to PTR pointer link. So PTR is reached here, or PTR is incremented. If you talk, if you say it in terms of an array, PTR is incremented. So this is how you follow the link from one node to another node, just by giving this command, a pointer equal to pointer link. Once again, you do the same command, PTR equal to PTR link. You will reach here. It will print this data item also. One more time you do PTR equal to PTR pointer link, then you will reach a null pointer. PTR equal to PTR link means this points to 0. So it is now pointing to an address 0, means that this condition is invalid. So we have reached the end of the list. So that's how we traverse the list. Traverse a singly linked list. It's very easy. It's an order of n complexity operation. We know that you are traversing through the entire list one at a time, or one node at a time. Means that you use 1 unit of time for the first node, to 1 unit of time for the second node, and so on. If you have n elements in your linked list, then you will be consuming order of n time for doing this. So we initialize a pointer PTR. Why we need to initialize, why we need to use a new pointer is that we need to reuse this head pointer, or we need to use this pointer again, head pointer again. Then or we are not supposed to alter this head pointer. So we create a pointer PTR, a new pointer that's created with the command struct node star PTR. Then initialize that. Then you go to the first node, second node, third node. Each time you increment your link or you follow the link. PTR equal to PTR pointer link. That's it. Any questions? Okay, so we'll stop it here now. The insertion and deletion operation and other operations like merging, etc. We'll do it in the next class.